another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I am your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. In studio with us once again, Mr. Ryan Lasal from Rock Sports Network. And
you guys are getting good at that, by the way. Chris cues you in, and you're hitting your intro right as the music ends. It's almost like you guys have been doing this for a while. It's finally right. It took this long for you guys to act like a professional outfit here.
It only took 10 years for us to find some semblance of professionalism, and yet it'll take me about 45 seconds before I just open my mouth and all the stupidity falls out.
To be fair, Chris has been trying the professional route for far too long. He should have given up a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we'll get professional because it is Wednesday. Someone said thank you to me on YouTube for it. A little bit of a roadmap for the year. Starting next week, Tuesday, live shows, game recaps. Every Tuesday. Get a live game recap, 8 o'clock on Tuesday, and then either Wednesday, late night, early Thursday, our preview episode will drop on YouTube. And then, sidebar off of that, we got 2 Thursday night games. So those weeks we do it on Mondays.
I appreciate your optimism, Chris, that you're going to be able to wrangle this one to have a consistent output of live shows.
I'm going to do what I want.
I do what I want.
I do what I want. It's guys, you missed a hilarious back and forth before we went on air. We were arguing because Ryan brought his own water. Now he travels about an hour to come do the show with us, and he brought his own water bottles. And Chris was like,
Chris was indignant that I brought water.
He asked about the water and acted as though Ryan had done something offensive. Most people would go, if I showed up at your house, Ryan, if I show up at your house for a get together and I bring, I know it's not a party. We're just hanging out. Yeah. And I bring you a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah.
Or I bring a case of pop. And you go, oh, hey, thanks, man. I'm going to throw that in the fridge. Cool. He's hanging out at my house. He feels obligated to bring something. You show up with water, just trying not to be an imposing guest who just shows up in freeloads. And Chris goes, what, you don't think I can afford water? It's the poorest mentality. This is what poor people think. They go, what, do you think you're too good for my water?
Yeah.
What, you don't think I could DoorDash a water right now? I'll get DoorDash to get 8 bottles of Dasani out of the cooler from the gas station and bring them here.
I'll have so much water over here, you'll choke on it.
It's hilarious the way Chris bristled at that, and the only thing, that's a poor mentality, isn't it?
That's a mentality of someone who has been poor, who is no longer poor, but still wants to, kind of show off the fact that he's not poor.
Here's what we're doing next time you come over. Give it a couple weeks. Next time you come over, I'll go through another 30-pack of water bottles, except I'll save them. And then I'll put them through the dishwasher, fill them with tap water, and that's your soul water.
Pettiest, hardest drinking Bills podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're at.
We're not great people, but we have a great time. So to start off tonight's conversation, in the run-up to Cutdown Day, I really thought, I've tried so hard to avoid becoming the Hard Knocks recap podcast.
Can I just real quick, just because it popped into my head and I don't want to lose it. Chris, I have to ask, because this started because of me.
It is.
So do you appreciate that as a producer, that he now is able to bring his mic, comfortable bringing his mic with him when he does his lean back? Because he used to lean back all the time and you'd lose him, right? You'd lose him on the audio because he's not near the mic.
No, still, because Drew's camera.
Now the camera goes out of focus.
Is out of
yeah, but I'd rather lose. Would you rather lose the camera or the mic? Because you used to lose lose the mic.
I'd rather lose the mic.
My favorite is losing me in camera. If I got blurry like Bigfoot, nobody's going to complain about it. That's the difference.
Yeah, you look fine now. You're in focus, and then you lean back, and then I got to go to the 2-shot.
So here's what I wanted to say. Hard Knocks, I really expected more last night, and I was disappointed. Because I guess, okay, cool, you showed us all these things that I guess I knew were already happening. I had something that I thought was sort of a hot take, that the Buffalo Bills were going to save the Hard Knocks franchise. And I think, if anything, all they did was make it mundane in the opposite direction. You took this thing that used to be almost like a Jerry Springer football, where it was, hey, a bunch of gotcha moments and fights between players and arguments between coaches or coaches and players. And instead, we gave you a much more vanilla version of the same thing. Instead, it's coaches and GMs and players having lovey-dovey conversations about how much they appreciate each other. It's the GM speaking glowingly to a player he just signed after what seemed from probably the outside like a contentious contract thing.
Yeah.
But you could tell there's no love lost between GM and player.
No.
It's just the business. And like the way the whole team responded by giving him a standing ovation when he ran out of the room for James Cook when he signed his deal.
Out on the practice field, yeah.
But to me, like, I wanted more. I guess I just expected more. Like, last night's show gave me some moments. Like, how about Laviska Shenault not being able to spell the word hallucination?
Yeah.
He should have been cut just for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a tough word, right? Double letter at the beginning. It's got a C that makes an S sound. You know, I would wager a bet that, and that this isn't anything against the fan base. I'm just picking them because this is a Bills podcast. I would wager a bet that over under, Drew, 53% of Bills Mafia knows how to spell hallucination.
First person to type hallucination in the chat.
No, that's not fair. It's going to spell check. We live in a world of spell check, my friend. So, Chris, what do you think? Over under 53% of Bills Mafia knows how to spell hallucination.
Teddy
Under.
Bandana, fourth grade ass word.
Again, 53% graduate fourth grade? Question mark.
It is hilarious though that most children can probably outspell most adults.
I mean, there was an entire game show built around that. Right?
Yeah, who can outsmart a fifth grader? So Sophia hit the nail on the head. Where I was going to go with this is not only was it like great, you showed me that Laviska Shenault and Brad Robbins can't spell worth a damn. Awesome. How about Keon Coleman at all? Where is Keon Coleman in this season? Now.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's tough because what we used to get on Hard Knocks was that. Yes. Right. That's what started
fun players,
Hard Knocks.
Goofy storylines, acrimony that you don't get to see from the street level, which is, I mean, that's everybody. That's everybody wants to see a car wreck.
Yeah.
What's that? There was a classic wrong. God, now I can't remember who wrote the song. It's
I don't know. We're going to
me.
spend too much time on this. So I think it's one. I think you're expecting too much of Hard Knocks these days, right?
Dirty laundry.
Okay, yeah. So Hard Knocks these days isn't that anymore.
No.
Because teams just aren't going to give that kind of access. Like teams are not going to give access to make their franchise look bad. The reason Coleman isn't on, I would wager a bet. The reason that Coleman isn't on is because the last time that Coleman spoke, which was when he got drafted, it was like a kind of like a joke for the national media, like picking on this poor kid the way he talked, right? Like about the cookies and about the jackets and like and I think the Bills are right to protect a kid like that, right? Protect them from themselves kind of thing. So I think it's a combination of one, Hard Knocks has changed. The teams are not giving them, teams are probably getting first right of refusal on the film that they're using, right? That's probably part of this agreement now. And then you're combining it with a Bills team that's really not that interesting. Endearing, yes. Well, interesting, no.
Like in my notes here, I had written, am I supposed to believe that he's no longer a character? Or is there a world that exists where Keon Coleman has become so serious about honing his craft that they don't want to show the goofy side and they want him to be taken seriously as a football player? And maybe he's heard, I mean, this is a guy who was kind of derided by his coach and his GM at the end of last season about how he approached his rehab, how he came back from his injury. So maybe he actually is taking this so seriously that there isn't a whole lot of goofy B-roll of Keon Coleman out there.
Yeah.
And that's also a possibility.
Sure.
And I want to believe that, like in my heart of hearts, I want that to be true.
Yeah.
I want that to be the case. Now,
and Joe and Gridiron.
Skid Valve in the comments gave us a super chat for $9.99, which I
made Drew so uncomfortable with that.
I love you guys. No, because I
guys, everybody give Drew a super chat because he feels so uncomfortable when people give him money.
I don't even like praise. I don't like it.
Skid, if you make it to the tailgate, tell Drew who you are, and he will make sure that you leave with more than $10 in value of things.
My boss at work said that it's one of my things, like when you do your disc assessment and then you go around and you do the 360 thing.
Yeah.
And they were like, you have a hard time accepting praise. And I go, yeah, because I live and exist in a world of acrimony, and I thrive in those environments. Don't bring anything nice.
Don't bring love and kindness into my world.
Or kindness or empathy and whatever.
How dare you?
I don't I don't. It makes me cringe. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable. It's like a jacket that's too tight. But I love you guys.
Yeah, Skid, come out to the Dolphins game. We'll feed you some delicious
Yeah, I mean,
meat.
for those
Drew
of
might
you
even
listening-
give, Drew might even give you his truck if you feel so bad.
For those of you on audio only, he says, you guys are the only Bills podcast I never get tired of. I'm flying up for the Thursday Night Football Dolphins game. Want to see a game at the Ralph before they tear it down, hoping to tailgate with y'all. You're more than welcome, sir. You are more than welcome. We will make a space for you.
Yeah.
And
Gridiron brought up a good point on the Joe Shane says that disagrees that Hard Knocks will make you look bad these days. So, I mean, fair play.
True,
right?
fair play.
And after last season, you bet your ass that Brandon Beane was not going to get caught in a situation like that with Hard Knocks.
I think the reason I'm angry at Hard Knocks this year is because I wanted more, and I felt like I was going to learn things that I didn't already know about players. I already knew that Ed Oliver rode horses. I already knew that Ty Johnson sort of liked Ed Oliver. I knew that
Pizza parties.
You don't know. You know. I did know about.
You didn't know about the pizza parties?
You know what I learned? I learned that one of our offensive linemen thinks he's a pizza chef and made some of the most disgusting looking pizzas. Like if you made that in my kitchen, I'd spit on it. Now that's a hot take. That's a hot take. Okay,
he's a rather large man.
I'm a little fired up. I learned that they are like these kids, which is what they are, have terrible culinary taste. Yeah. None of them have refined palates because they're savages. They go out there, they manhandle people for a living, and they go, oh, yeah, we have pizza night at the McGovern house.
Who made these cookies?
So
they're delicious.
And I look at them and I go, this is crap.
Yeah.
This is all crap.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know,
put some basil on that pizza. Good Lord.
We talked about this the last time that I was on, that like Hard Knocks is not a show for the fans of the team, right? You're not going to learn anything. I've never learned anything watching Hard Knocks because I've always been following the NFL close enough where I know like the Hard Knocks is meant to bring the NFL and these teams to the mainstream, right? So introduce the Buffalo Bills to people who didn't know anything about the Buffalo Bills, make them an endearing story. And so it's not surprising. I am a little bit surprised that they showed the drifting, the Deion Dawkins drifting with his children in the car. I was a little surprised at that. And I was surprised that they showed the AJ Epinesa snake wrangling thing. Because that's dangerous shit, right?
My
like that's
brother
dangerous.
used to drift race. His drift race car is parked out in front of my parents' house right now because he's moving it to a new storage facility.
Maybe Deion's got room.
It is incredibly difficult to do that, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I'm surprised that the Bills let them show that.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers saw Ben Roethlisberger get into one motorcycle accident and wrote it into his contract that he wasn't allowed to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And now you've got Deion Dawkins. It's being embraced on national television that he's drift racing. Like we've really come a long way.
Yeah.
In terms of
and you've got AJ Epinesa like with his bare hands wrestling.
That's just the funny,
an 11-foot
Skinner. The alligator man.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted more juice ahead of cuts. And maybe they'll give it to us in the last episode. I mean, they still have one more show to go.
Yeah,
Probably
I mean, but there was
not.
nobody. I mean, who got cut that had an endearing story on Hard Knocks? I mean, that's typically the Hard Knocks method, right? Is they get you ingrained with this particular player. Like, you know.
Skid Valve says, I'm a drifter. It's not that dangerous. Skid Valve, I'll give you this. It's not that dangerous if you know what you're doing. And the problem is, I'm a guy who drives
Did
a vehicle.
Nick Hogan know what he was doing?
I'm a guy who. That's a.
No.
I'm a guy who I've done ATVs. I've driven recklessly. I've done a lot of crazy things throughout the course of my life. Getting in my brother's drift car and giving it an attempt was one of those things where you white knuckle it and he goes, I don't know why you're going so slow. He's like, you got to go faster if you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. There's something in me that will not allow me to do this thing at the speed that's required to make it happen. So God bless anybody who's willing to do it. I just as a guy who takes a lot of risks, that one I just can't bring myself to. And so it's funny that the team allowed that to be publicized nationally.
Yeah.
Deion Dawkins is like, I'll just go do this and I'll do it with my kids. It'll be fun. You're talking about cuts and the acrimony of it and how much it stings. And maybe that's why they're saving this last episode for the post-cut and kind of the pre-cut conversations. Let's talk a little bit about that because there's some NFL releases that really caught my eye. You talk about the human element of this game and why roster cuts are so okay, Chris, let's start with this tweet. Throw it on the screen for everybody who's watching live. I'm going to read it from Nick Corte, NFL analyst Nick Corte, that says, out of 851 players cut yesterday, as identified by Over the Cap, only 24 players got claimed off waivers. Mm-hmm. That's 2.8% of all of the players in the NFL who got cut, got claimed after being released. And he goes on to say it's a regular lesson for fans to learn when they're worried about their favorite fringe roster players on their favorite team being lost to waivers. It rarely happens.
Yeah.
Now, what's hilarious is the Ravens did get poached 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is, that is funny. But it also speaks to the makeup of the Ravens roster that they're just so talented that they have to let some players go who some of their teams are going to find valuable.
Right.
Meanwhile, if you go over to BuffaloRumblings.com, there's an entire listing of all the former Buffalo Bills who got released. It's sad. Robert Woods got cut. Like, you don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You don't want to see, like...
Bobby Trees.
He had a good time here. I like that guy. I don't want to see him get cut. And then you think about the human element of what it is to be cut from a football team. And there's this tweet from Ben DiNucci. Ben DiNucci has gone, like, he's been a backup quarterback. He's been forced to start because the Cowboys are just an inept franchise. But he had this tweet. It says, not many beers better than the airport, quote unquote, I just got cut from the NFL for the 7th time beer. Trust me, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Ryan, you and I have had airport beers. You've traveled for work.
Airport beer is one of the best, one of the top 5 beers you'll ever drink.
Guys in the chat, I want to hear it. For everybody who's watching live, what is your favorite beer? There's shower beers, there's airport beers, there's the first beer after cutting the lawn or doing some hard yard work.
There's the first beer after checking into the resort. Right? That's a good beer.
Shower beer.
Shower beer. Yep, shower beer is a good beer.
Ben DiNucci, former NFL quarterback Ben DiNucci, believes that the best beer, and maybe this is said tongue in cheek, is that there's not many after, hey, I've been cut for a 7th time. A 7th time the NFL has told me, hey, you're good enough to get an invite to the party, but not good enough to stick around. There's a human element to this game where if you're at the airport and you see Ben DiNucci sucking on a beer after he's just been released and kicked out of whatever city he's in that year, you as a fan of football who recognizes him, not that there's many people who would recognize Ben DiNucci on sight,
no.
But if you did, you might be compelled to go approach him as an NFL football player and be like, oh man, you're Ben DiNucci. Like, that's cool. I feel like there's a certain amount of reverence you have to have for that moment. You know, there's that iconic photo of fired Buffalo Bills GM Doug Whaley and fired Buffalo Sabres GM Tim Murray, both sitting at a bar together having a beer after being fired, but before leaving the city.
Yeah.
And it's like, in that moment, as a bystander, I wouldn't even approach them.
Yeah.
I would let them have their moment. Whatever that guy's going through, let him go through it.
Yeah. I think there's the, everyone at some point in their life has been fired, right? I mean, most of everyone has gone through that experience at least once in their life. And there's that like calm directly after, where before like reality kicks in and it's like, okay, now what? And enjoying a beer in that calm.
Okay,
there's something to be said.
It's the eye of the storm.
It is. It's the calm before the chaos, right? That calm.
Skid Valve, the just hit rock bottom beer. I will tell you what, I have been there.
I was going to say, what about a you just got fired beer? Do you get home after getting fired, and
I'll do you one better.
Or you just your wife texts you a picture of Facebook, and you find out you no longer have a job, and then you go, well, it is Wednesday morning. I'm gonna, I guess, open up a beer because I don't have a job anymore.
The post-bail beer is pretty good. Yeah. See, I haven't gotten to experience that, but I'll tell you the beer I have had. I've had the beer of losing my job. It was a severance situation, but losing my job. And then calling my then girlfriend to be like, hey, it sucks. Like, I have a severance package. The sky isn't falling, but at the same time, like, this isn't going to go well. Or at least I have to go find a job. And then reaching out to your girlfriend and having her tell you, choosing that moment to say, you know what? I've been meaning to talk to you about this. I feel trapped in our relationship, and I feel like I never really got to sow my wild oats. So I'd really like it if you just kind of like if we could amicably break up so that I can go bang half of a small rural Cat County town.
Yeah, I feel like you and Chris both went really specific with your examples of beers. I'm talking like we're talking shower beers, patio beers. You're like got fired and dumped inside of an hour period beer, and I'm like, I don't think there's many people that can.
And
relate
then you
to that.
go home to your apartment, you open the fridge door, and there's just a shiny cold can of Bud Platinum, and you go, you know what? I don't even care that it's a Budweiser product. And you sit down in your recliner. You haven't even taken my tie off yet, and I just sit down and I crack the thing and I turn the TV on, I kick the things up and I go, how many more of these do I have? But that first one, the hit of it.
Yeah, it just hits different, right? Once it hits your lips, right? It's the thing from Will Ferrell, Old School, right?
Yeah.
Once it hits your lips, so good. So good.
Steve Noble goes, I just try to keep up with Drew during the show. Good luck, Steve. Strap in.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, Steve, he's already 3 in before the show even started. So don't lose track of those because...
So there's
the
Ben DiNucci.
Non-American beer.
There's
Terry.
Of course, Terry White, who stayed up late over there in England to watch this.
After camp is set up here, that's a pretty good one. That's a good one.
Then what you have is Tom Pelissero, right? Because you have the guys who's just sitting there having a beer, reveling in this moment of, I just got fired for a record 7th time. I'm the first quarterback to be dismissed 7 consecutive times. And he'll get brought back to a practice squad, but he's been cut. And someone somewhere will go, you know what I need come week 5? A Ben DiNucci. And they'll call him and he'll get off the couch and he'll go back to work. Tom Pelissero talking about the history of Deontay Johnson is wild. For all the Ben DiNucci's of the world who are just out there giving it their all, trying their best, and they're just not good enough, then you've got idiots like this guy who has had the most spectacular fall from grace of maybe any football player I've ever seen. This is the 8th transaction involving Deontay Johnson in the past 18 months. How do you get traded or fired 8 times inside of a year and a half in the NFL? March 12th, 2024, he was traded from the Steelers to the Panthers. Then in October, the Panthers traded him to the Ravens. December 22nd, he gets waived by the Ravens and claimed by the Texans the following day. January 14th, the Texans, they waive him. They fire him off the active roster in the middle of the playoffs.
The Texans, who didn't have Stephon Diggs, didn't have Tank Dell by that point in time.
Took a look at him and said, you know who I don't need is Deontay Johnson on my team.
Yeah.
Then he gets claimed by the Ravens again. Then April 28th, signs with the Browns and can't make that roster.
Yeah. The Browns, whose wide receiver 1 is Jerry Jeudy.
It's a weird thing. It's like a dichotomy. You have players who get cut in the NFL and you feel terrible for them, or at least you see the human element. And then you see other players and you go, you know what? You're the problem. It's not the NFL. It's not the cutthroat nature of competition. It's you. You're the one here who sucks. You personally, and you need to go figure that out. Stop trying. Don't even show up for camps anymore. Go work on whatever the hell is wrong with you that nobody in the NFL wants to work with you. Because we live in a world where there is a Tyrell Shavers on the Buffalo Bills 53-man roster and Deontay Johnson, who was an up-and-coming, like a fantasy football darling.
He was a league winner. He was a league winner.
He was a fantasy football league winner for some people years ago.
Not that long ago.
Is unemployable.
Barely years.
Unemployable.
Like 2 seasons ago,
in the
he was
NFL.
a potential league winner.
All that means is you're an asshole. Yeah. That's it. Point blank and period. You're one of the biggest jerk-offs these people have ever seen.
Well, this all started with his contract holdout, right? Back in Pittsburgh. That's what started this whole thing. And he's gone the way of another Steeler, Le'Veon Bell. And, I mean, he's just torpedoed his entire career. It's astonishing, really.
Super Mexican might have an ultra-specific but awesome... Look at this. Basement apartment flooded with 2 feet of water. Forced refuge to cheap hotel, had to eat chips from the vending machine for dinner, but somehow had a Coors. It was fantastic. Yeah, that beer in crisis is what we'll call that. Any beer you can have in a moment of crisis, yeah, those beers usually go down pretty well too. But so you've got this dichotomy of players who deserved to get the cut they received, and then players who your heart genuinely goes out for. And that's kind of where I want to start this conversation about the 2025 Buffalo Bills roster. You know, Hard Knocks, I think, was supposed to set us up to care more. At least that's what I thought it was going to do. And it didn't. It didn't scratch the surface because all it did was tell the whole country the same stories about the players that we already know. It didn't get me any more or less invested in these fringe players who lost their jobs yesterday, who may or may not be invited back to the practice squad. I mean, Chris, if you want to go ahead and pull up on a tab there for me, the practice squad roster as well. Is it on there? Great. So when you think about some of the names that you see here, there's no one who you are shocked. Like, oh, that guy got released and nobody took him. No, there's no surprise, to that first tweet we talked about. There was no shock or awe, and it sounds like pretty much everybody who wanted to be a Buffalo Bill could come back and be a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
And I think it's that way for most teams, and that we as fans just convince ourselves that that's not the case. We overvalue our own players because of proximity. When you look around the NFL, it's clear other GMs don't have the same view of those players.
No.
Jimmy Charlo was from the Jets. He was released, and then we signed him.
Injury settlement, yeah.
And now he's on our practice squad.
Yeah.
And did any other GM in the NFL dare to arm wrestle us for him? No.
Yeah.
No. Jimmy Charlo will be a Buffalo Bill for as long as he wants to be before some team tries to sign him to a contract off our practice squad. It's just interesting when you think about what the process looks like and the guys who came back. Everyone was upset that Shane Bichelle got cut. You see him back on the practice squad.
Yeah.
And yeah, he probably brought more juice to the room than any. Mitch Trubisky, Mike White, it's against backups. I think that's the thing is, that Mitch Trubisky has done the NFL football thing before. Mike White was our best chance at getting rid of Mitch Trubisky, and Mike White lost to Shane Bichelle.
Well, and you know why. I mean, after watching Hard Knocks, right? Here's something that you learned, right? You see why they kept Mitchell Trubisky, because you saw the interaction that he had in the quarterback room, where it was like, were you working on something on the offseason? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, it shows. Like you're right where we need you to be. Like these are things that, like, Shane Bichelle, great story, but it's the same reason that every fan in the world was like, Shavers has to make this roster. And if you listen to Sal, who talked about it, it sounded like it was a good chance that he might not make the roster even after his performance in the last preseason game, because the team sees stuff that we don't see, right? And it's easy to say, oh, Mitchell Trubisky sucks. Look what he did in Chicago, and look what he did in the preseason. And that's like, well, you watch these things, he's a professional, and there's something to be said for that.
And this is where you question how much control the team has over the content that goes out in these Hard Knocks episodes. Because, folks, think about it. It's really nice when the team can show you in real time, here's the guy who helped rebuild Josh Allen's mechanics. He made him a passable NFL quarterback from a guy who was a chucker. I still remember a 2018 game where the guy's name, I wanted him to be good so bad. His last name was Murphy. And Marcus Murphy, I believe, because if Marcus Murphy, the running back, panned out, I was going to get a jersey with his number that said RoboCop on the back because his name was Murphy. And they tried to throw a swing pass to him, and Josh Allen almost put it in the first row of the stands. And it was just the craziest thing, because I go, how do you not have any accuracy? He went from being that quarterback in 2018 to being a league MVP, and that doesn't happen unless you're willing to put in the work to rebuild your mechanics. Mm-hmm. Well, now they've written about it in articles about how Josh Allen works with a guy and who rebuilt his mechanics and helped him become the MVP that he is today.
Yeah.
Now he's working with the whole Bills quarterback room. And it almost feels in retrospect like they were allowing that to air to give them cover, to show this is why we picked Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
Look, guys, you may not think it as outsiders who only get to see the performance in the preseason in a very limited window. What we see is a quarterback who is still building his mechanics and was so athletic that he was picked in the top 10 of an NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, they passed up the opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to draft Mitchell Trubisky, right? Yeah. Like, wrong decision, but Mitchell Trubisky was drafted for the same reason that Josh Allen was drafted. The only difference with Trubisky is he had success in college playing for a bigger program at North Carolina, but still a bigger program, right? Like, these guys, you forget. It's so easy for people to forget. Like, NFL coaches are alpha males. They're all alpha. All of them think that I'm going to fix that guy, right? And when they see a toolsy player like Trubisky, they're like, well, we did it with Allen. Why can't we do it with him, right? Same type of skill set. There will be someone who gives another shot to Anthony Richardson because he's the most athletic quarterback we've ever seen.
And that's the reason Trey Lance was a top 5 NFL pick.
Yep.
And it's the reason that a lot of other quarterbacks who have been drafted and failed in Josh Allen's career.
Anthony Richardson, right? Like he's
Anthony
the prime
Richardson
example of it.
Like
As soon as he got drafted, the sentiment on Josh Allen when he got drafted and he started to show success, and I listened to all sports podcasts, but Bomani Jones was the one that said it all the time. He's like, Josh Allen is going to get so many GMs fired because Josh Allen was the unicorn and the exception to the rule. And now you see all of these guys getting drafted after him that are just toolsy, athletic, physical guys that can't really play the position really well, but they're super athletic and they play quarterback. So let's stick them back there and throw the football, right? And you're seeing it now with Richardson. Like Anthony Richardson is so bad, he lost his job to Daniel Jones, who is another athletic guy who can run, who can throw. He's got all the tools and just could never put it all together, right?
And that's it. Do you put the work in to become the guy?
And if he didn't do it there, we can get him to do it.
And that segment of Hard Knocks might have been the coolest thing to come out of this entire series, was just getting to see how Mitch Trubisky really has been fighting to earn his roster spot.
Yeah,
he's been putting in the work, not just in terms of, hey, I work out and I stay muscular and I try to work out with the receivers, also his mechanics. Mm-hmm. And that guy noted it, and I think that there's a reason they aired that.
Well, and the key to that whole segment was the guy asked, have you been working? Which means he's doing it when no one's watching.
Yes.
Right? And, again, another example, former Buffalo Bill, the number one in our hearts and terrible everywhere else, Nathan Peterman. Like, Nathan Peterman is still in the league. Like, there's a reason that a guy like that is still in the league, because he's a professional. Like, Josh Johnson, still in the league. Did you know Josh Johnson was still on a roster?
Yep.
You know where he is?
No.
He is in Washington still.
He's inevitable. He's Thanos. You can't stop him from being an NFL football player.
You just don't get rid of those guys, right? Because if you in a pinch, like, who am I going to throw out there? Would you rather have Josh Johnson, or would you rather have Tommy DeVito?
Or do I want to be calling Ben DiNucci off the couch to come learn my playbook? Teddy Bandana in the comments, I can fix that guy. Sounds like my ex. Yeah, exactly.
I'll show her.
I like spin in the comments. What was wrong with the Trent Murphy jersey? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with Trent Murphy except he was, I don't know, bad.
And then Steve counters with, I'd much rather be a Trent Murphy jersey owner than my dumbass having a Peterman jersey. Listen, I've said this a lot, and I know, Steve, you and I aren't the only ones, and I think we have all done it. How many quarterbacks have we talked ourselves into as Bills fans, right? I remember back in the day,
somebody in the comments brought up EJ throwing the ball in the tent.
Yeah, I remember that, and remember the comment on it. It was like, yeah, well, he threw it in the tent, but did you see how far away the tent was? What an arm on the guy, right? like we convinced ourselves on so many quarterbacks. It's so how quickly we forget, now that you have Josh on this football team, how quickly you forget that we were once going, hey, that Jeff Toole, he's got something.
Everyone's like, if I had a time machine, I would go back in time and kill Hitler. And I'm like, well, you know what? If I had a time machine, I would make a pit stop and I would go back to the day where I remember being like, maybe this EJ Manuel guy's going to work out. And I would punch that guy right in the stomach. Just be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
But go through the list, right? Like Jeff Toole and, just pick guy here, right?
Thad Lewis.
Thad Lewis is a good one. Nathan Peterman, Barkley. Like, there's just so many guys that
Kelly Holcomb,
Trent Edwards, JP Lossman. Remember the arm coming out of Tulane?
Well, so
JP Lossman.
As we move on from quarterback, we as fans of a long-suffering fans of a bad football team have a thing where I think we overvalue guys just because they're our guys.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. Duke Williams, anyone?
But it's the idea of, if you're willing to put our logo on the side of your helmet, if I can talk about this from an emotional and a philosophical standpoint. It's ingrained in us as Bills fans that if you're willing to put our logo and our city on your back and on your helmet, then we'll root for you.
Yep.
And we will pull for you, and maybe we'll give you more accolades than you deserve. But as Buffalonians, we will go to the mat for anybody who's ballsy enough to claim us and go, you know what I want to do is I want nothing more than to be a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for their own selfish reasons, we want that. And so we embrace those players and we root for these fringe players because it makes us feel good.
He's a blue collar guy.
Validated.
How many times do we hear that? He's a blue collar guy.
It's the Kyle Williams.
Yep.
But then Kyle Williams goes on Jim Rome. I'll never forget this, and I've used this in job interviews and meetings before, and it's worked. Where I describe when I'm talking to somebody and they go, "Hey, what drives you?" And I go, "Listen, I'm an old hound dog. If you scratch me behind the ears, I'll stay under the porch." That was the exact statement that Kyle Williams used to Jim Rome when Jim Rome asked him, "Kyle, why would you re-sign in Buffalo?
Yeah.
You have the prime of your career. You're entering the end of it. Why would you commit more years to this city that's never going to bring you a Super Bowl?" And he was like, "I'm an old hound dog. You scratch me on the ears, I'll stay under the porch." We as a community thrive on that. So if guys show up here and they strap that helmet on, we go to the mat for you, unless you give us a specific reason not to. And so in that way, there wasn't anyone in this season's crop who got cut that we didn't that we took offense to. If anything,
there were no surprises in this roster.
To further this conversation, you know what people took more offense to than the cuts was the practice squad additions.
Yeah.
Guys, can we all, hey, Chris, everybody, raise a glass and say it with me. A goose fraba.
Yeah, see, I'm one of those. I'm one of those, though.
I know you are.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Idiot, I love that you're here.
I'm one of those, yeah.
So when the Bills announced that they were signing Jordan Poyer, and when they were signing, hey, or even worse, we're signing Jordan Phillips, you people lost your minds. And it's hilarious because in my head, as soon as it happened, I'm getting text messages. What is this? And I go, he's going to be on the practice squad. And everyone goes, oh, this is classic Bean. He did a bad job building the defense, and now he's got to go out. And I go, why do you all turn on the G? It's like as soon as something happens that you either don't like or don't understand, you do what an alligator does, and you just start biting everything within 5 feet. And you get
like when someone comes over and brings their own water. That's why I'm having a $130 bottle of Woodenville.
Just to show it off.
8-year rye.
Just because you can.
To flex.
Just because I can.
Are you going to add a splash of water to that?
No.
He's trying.
Do you want some? I have some.
I was going to say,
do you want
he's
some
got
water?
Some he can loan you.
I have some.
So what ends up happening is they make these additions to the roster, and everyone comes unhinged. And I go, oh, that's going to happen. This is going to happen. They're both going to end up on the practice squad. This isn't a meaningful thing. It's an in-house kind of veteran sort of, before we really get farther into this conversation about the rest of the roster, there's a moment in Hard Knocks. This is the last time I'll bring up Hard Knocks, where Sean McDermott is talking to Vince Carter. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to him about leadership and just what is it, what kind of a leader do I have to be, or what is it going to take? And Vince Carter is explaining to him, you don't have to be anything. Like Tim Duncan didn't say much. He just did a lot. The way he prepared, the way he handled himself, that professionalism permeated the room, and we all fed off that. That, I think, is where you start to see these player coaches all of a sudden start populating the Buffalo Bills practice squad. And while it is funny to put out pictures of old guys from retiree homes all sitting on a bench talking to each other and being like, hey, look. And I saw all the tweets about, oh, yeah, who else has come back? Fred Jackson has been signed to the practice squad. And I saw a tweet. I actually retweeted it. Nate Clements has decided to come out of retirement.
Gridiron. Poyer sent to the practice squad because Lawyer Malloy made the active roster. Yeah.
It's that thing where there's a lot of people who had a lot of snark. But the reality is when you're a team that's turning things over and you're not happy with the way that some of these young kids have acclimated, there's a couple things you can do. And I think that conversation that Sean McDermott had with Vince Carter in that moment was kind of telling. You can be the heavy-handed coach who bangs the table and says, I need better, and you're doing this, and I'm going to blast you in the media the way he's been doing with Cole Bishop. Or you know what you can do for a Cole Bishop is you can go get the toughest defensive back you've ever had man a team for you in Jordan Poyer. And you can put him on the practice squad, and you can let him hang around these guys. And you can let him hang around Cole Bishop and kind of talk to Cole Bishop about what it takes to be a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro at the NFL level and the sacrifices that you sometimes have to make. I think some of the commentary that's been lost in this offseason, the way that McDermott has talked about Cole Bishop, it's one thing for fans to talk ill about a player. and to question his commitment or to question his acumen. It's another thing for a coach to openly talk multiple times about how much time he's lost because he's not available. As if that's in his control. If he's hurt, it's almost like that thing from the movie Miracle. And yes, I said Miracle.
I was just going to say,
what movie is that?
Miracle.
Cam Boone, friend of the show's favorite movie of all time, I believe, if you ask him.
There's a moment where he's talking to a kid.
Guys in the
locker
chat,
room.
type in how Drew says miracle.
Yeah, that's your 5th grade question after the hallucination was your 4th grade question.
There's a moment in that movie where he asks the kid in the locker room, are you injured or are you hurt? And it's something I do with my children. Something will happen. And I go, buddy, I need you to look at me. Are you hurt or are you just scared? And 9 times out of 10, they go, I'm just scared. And I go, okay, see, we can work with that. If you're hurt, tell me and I'll help you. But if not, I'll give you a pat on the ass and I'll go, listen, you buck up. We're going to be fine. Yeah, you fell out of a tree. It probably knocked the wind out of you, but you're not going to die.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine. I'll walk you through it. And when I'm calm, they're calm, and we all go hand in hand together. And Jordan Poyer has an opportunity to do that for some of these young.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna stop you because I mean,
he doesn't believe
it. How many guys do you need like that? Like, if you're McDermott, like Vince Carter, okay, you want to use the Vince Carter example? Fine, let's talk about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was the best player in the NBA at that point in time when Vince Carter played for that team, right? Like, there's a difference between watching one of the best ever to do it, perennially underrated, best power forward to ever play in the NBA versus a 3-year removed from the last time he was any type of effective guy. Like, how many leaders do we need on this football team? Because you and I have talked about this in our group chats with Mario and Paul and all these guys, right? Like, at a certain point, you've got to have enough leaders in the locker room because that's all you've been focusing on since Bean and McDermott took over was getting leaders in the locker room, setting the example, doing things the right way, time on task, getting prepared. Why are you still having to bring in guys who can't contribute on the field? If that's the case, just hire him as a coach. Like, if you really need Jordan Poyer, do you have to sign him? Do you have to sign him to the practice squad? Like, there's not anybody out there that you'd rather put on this football team than Jordan Poyer to bring him in and whatever that's going to come with, because somebody mentioned it in the chat and it's not something that I thought of initially, but are we going to talk about the dynamic between him and Keon Coleman? Like, what does that look like in the locker room? Because by all accounts, it was an unnecessary hit that put Keon Coleman out for most of last year with his wrist injury.
I bet
right?
you.
So, like, but these are the things.
Fine.
But are they dapping it up because it's fine? Because Keon's a young player and he knows that he has to dap it up because it's fine. Like, it's just Jordan Phillips, right? Like, okay. Like, there's not a better guy you can go out and play. Like, why do you have to take leaders and put them on the practice squad? Don't you have leaders on this football team? Isn't Matt Milano supposed to be a leader? Isn't Trey White supposed to be a leader? Like, isn't Taylor Rapp? Like, why can't he be a leader? Why can't Terrell Bernard be a leader? Why can't Josh Allen be? Like, why are we doing this on the practice squad with guys who can't contribute on the field? Because
you have young guys who are backups who probably aren't working with the starters a ton, and it's nice when there's somebody under them who has more experience who can help try to boost them up.
Cool. So how much did Cole Bishop learn when they did that with Micah Hyde last year? Because it didn't work then.
Well, it did work. He started he started throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, but why is he still struggling then? If it worked,
I think this is a thing of you seem soft. I think that all the discourse. Soft? I think all of the discourse, Sean McDermott openly deriding a player for being injured. Injuries are injuries, and I've never heard Sean McDermott make an ill comment about an injured player.
That's before. A guy questioning whether it's an injury.
Well, he's questioning, are you tough or are you being soft on me?
That's
the
fine.
Same way that in the movie Miracle, Herb Brooks questioned that hockey player.
Yeah.
And so you bring in a Jordan Poyer who it's like, look, I think this kid's soft. I need you to talk to him. I need you because you're the guy who. So
there's not anybody else. There's not anyone in that room of 52 that can go have that conversation with him.
Maybe
then that's your fault as a coach.
Okay,
for
good.
Building a roster.
And you can blame Sean McDermott for that all you want, but it's the reality of the situation.
Yeah. So now you're going into a situation where you've got a team that you've built character, you've added leaders, like that's your hallmark. You've consistently collapsed in the playoffs. You've underperformed with a roster, and you're still worried about character instead of guys that can contribute on the field. If you don't think the kid's tough, go find someone to replace him then.
And I think the problem,
but you don't have anybody on the roster that can win the job from him.
Well, I think the problem is they made their bed when they had this youth movement. They co-signed. Look at Chris, pull up the R lads. If we want to get into the roster construction conversation even deeper than we already have, because I know we've kind of bantered a lot. If you look at the makeup of the final 53-man roster and you take a look at position by position, there was an intentional move to get younger.
Yeah.
At every position, cornerback, safety, defensive line, every level of the defense, they threw rookies into it. And you say, okay, it's one thing to put rookies in there. I need to give them a back end. What would I like to do? Would I like to just go sign a bunch of guys off the street, hope that it pans out? Or do I want to fill my practice squad with guys who I know understand the culture, the system, and can maybe push their asses forward in moments where maybe they don't otherwise, maybe they stagnate. Maybe some of these kids hit the rookie wall because they just don't get it and they're frustrated and there's nobody who can talk them through the process because they themselves went through it here in Buffalo.
We got 9 on defense between this past draft and the 24 draft.
And so,
9 guys on defense between UDFAs and guys we drafted.
And so it's that concept of you are young. And so you want depth that you trust, but guys who can also say, listen, I know I'm not starting. I don't have any ego in this. Instead, I'm getting paid a minimum salary to show up here and push you kids because you need to be better than me. I'm here now. I was this for a long time, and now I'm down here, and I better not be better than you.
Yeah, I mean, but what if it doesn't work? Then what?
Who gives a shit that it doesn't work?
You should give a shit because if it doesn't work, you're not making the Super Bowl, and isn't that the goal here? Like, what are we doing?
But it's a
why not go get a guy that can push them?
Because the team is talking about a window. You're talking about 1 year in a vacuum, and the team is looking at a window saying, we just drafted all these rookies. If 2 of these rookies do a good job this year, you've done a good job as a team of scouting talent and adding it.
But is Jordan Phillips going to be the difference between TJ Sanders being good and not?
So this argument
is that the tipping point?
Okay, so Eli,
because if that's the tipping point, you got bigger problems in your staff and in your roster.
But if you think about what the practice squad is, Eli Anku spent the whole year on the practice squad.
Cool.
Kicked off, back on. Kicked off, back on. For 2 years, Eli Anku has been a Buffalo Bill for most of every single season. Do you know how many times he's played? None.
Yeah.
And so this is where I talk about when you guys get all in your feelings about this idea of, well, you should have done better and you shouldn't need it. This is about, hey, we think we addressed our need. Now I'm trying to add layers to it because if I have to go to the practice squad at defensive tackle, I'm probably already fucked.
Sure.
But there was a week last season where the Buffalo Bills, or 2 seasons ago, where the Buffalo Bills added Jordan Phillips and he played off the street and had 2 quarterback pressures and half a sack.
Cool.
The idea being, if you are on the practice squad, it is not nearly as damning as if you added him to the active roster. I would have the same reaction you're having. The idea is if you ever have to turn to that practice squad, you're done. You're finished. You know, if you ever had to go out and get Zach Davidson, the guy everyone had a crush on at tight end, Zach Davidson played in a couple NFL football games, and he was lost. He was a non-factor.
He would have been a factor if he punted.
That is fair. At this juncture, the Buffalo Bills have added guys who can bring something to try to push the asses of these young kids from the other side while the coaches try to pull them forward. I don't think it's a terrible gamble when you consider what the practice squad is. And I think that just like the waiver conversation, there's too many fans who put too much value in what that is. If I get anything out of a practice squad in a given year, Jesus Christ, that's manna from heaven.
Yeah. Then why not add 10 guys that you can get something out of? You're not getting, I mean,
but they don't care because
the example you used was Jordan Phillips 2 years ago. He was 31 years old 2 years ago. Okay.
Okay.
We were talking about Eli Anku. Okay. Is he still playing?
And answer me this then. If I have to depend on practice squad talent, am I winning a Super Bowl anyway?
I think what you're doing is a false equivalency.
No,
correlation does not equal causation,
I
right?
would err on the side of having players.
Then why not keep Shane Buechele?
They did.
I mean,
He's
why,
on the
but why
practice
not? Why not just keep him and get rid of Trubisky?
Because Trubisky's a better athlete. But if I need to, because
But if Josh goes down, everything's fucked anyway. So what difference does it make?
because
who's behind
Josh himself said, I like having Shane Bichelle in this room. When Shane Bichelle, see, this shoots a hole right through your argument. When Shane Bichelle got hurt last season with a neck injury, do you know that they gave him a designation as a coach and paid him a salary as a consultant to be in the quarterback room for no other reason than the fact that Josh Allen needed that guy in his corner? He called him his caddy. He said it was like, hey, I talked to him about game planning. I bounce ideas off him. Shane Bichelle is not a guy that anyone is going to say should be starting for their team on Sundays.
Yeah.
But the MVP says, I need that guy in my corner. And now you're going to sit here and tell me that maybe a Cole Bishop doesn't need the same guy in his corner?
Yeah.
And somehow those two things aren't equivalent.
No, they're not. They're not.
That's
because
bullshit,
one's the MVP of the league, and who's the face of your franchise. You keep him happy. The other's a kid that you're openly questioning in front of everyone, right? I mean, if
Brian, get to some of these comments here. We've had a lot of people chime in while you've yelled at each other.
We're not trying to be Fox
Teddy
Sports
said old
One.
dogs can't learn new tricks, but they can teach the ones he knows to the young pups. Poyer's also someone that already knows the system. Just easy stuff.
I'm telling you, I really feel
Somebody said
like
he can't get anyone at this point. I kind of chimed in with, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't, teams are releasing players all the time in this, and there wasn't a safety that you had
well, here's
a
a point.
little value
No,
for.
here's
I mean,
a
they did get somebody put in the comment, but he's a special teams ace, Sam Franklin.
They did go out and get defensive back Sam Franklin, which complicates something, which I guess we'll pivot to next after we get done yelling at each other about this dynamic. But the idea being,
I just think there's somewhere to land on the Poyer and Phillips thing between extreme outrage and blind faith. Like
Sure.
it's okay to land somewhere in the I don't get it, so I don't like it.
I think
right?
that I don't ever want to see anybody on my practice squad playing for me, and if I do, then it's probably not going to go well anyway.
So if we do have someone, we might as well be one with a hot wife that posts to Instagram.
I mean, that doesn't hurt. There's a lot worse ways you could go.
It doesn't.
But it's also the idea that at least they bring some ancillary value. And whether you believe that or not, I'm not here to convince you. I'm just giving you my opinion on it. And I think that if you can look outside being a curmudgeon about, hey, this is a poor decision, you can see that there may be some intrinsic value there.
We'll
agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't see the intrinsic value.
So now the problem is when you look at the makeup of the roster, like there's a couple position groups that are interesting, right? The wide receiver room, Tyrell Shavers. Let's lean into a positive note. Tyrell Shavers, he's finally a professional NFL football player, and it's awesome. I think he deserved it, and I think he deserved it in ways that a lot of fans don't even recognize when you think about him, what he brings. Like, we all watch the games, and we all like to woo and clap because we saw something fun. But I'll tell you what, first of all,
Duke Williams ran so Tyrell Shavers, or Duke Williams walked so Tyrell Shavers could run.
So Air Raid Hour, who I have a complicated relationship with, Chris, this tweet, Des Lewis walked, Brandon Riley jogged, and Duke Williams ran so that Tyrell Shavers could soar. that's the runway that was paved for Tyrell Shavers. And I love that. Tyrell Shavers was a player.
I'm surprised you didn't use my tweet because I tweeted out, I can't break down tape, but with that catch, Tyrell Shavers made the 53.
Look at this. Drew being so nonchalant and Ryan getting momentarily spooled up every couple of minutes is doing it for me. So what I love about Tyrell Shavers is that when you watched him last preseason, yeah, he was a darling because he made a big catch. And then everyone was like, well, he's big and he's fast, and he's physical. And then he has that touchdown catch against the Jets. Mm-hmm. The reason he didn't make the roster last year is because the highs were really high and the lows were really low. This offseason, he came in, again, we talk about Mitch Trubisky, provably putting in the work. Tyrell Shavers was a completely different player this season.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just bear out in terms of what you think you saw when you watched the games. statistically, if you look around in the 2025 preseason, I mean, where do we want to start here? He finished in the top 20 of almost every metric that I can measure. So if you're talking about all qualifying wide receivers who played 20% of 18 targets in the preseason. So that means that you played most of games. Like you played a solid chunk of your preseason games. And if I want to say you took pass snaps and I want to see yards per reception.
I just want to, like, while you're doing that, like, I can't believe that we're staring at PFF for preseason stats.
I know, it's
like,
so stupid.
This is such a fall from grace for anyone who's watching. I deeply apologize for this.
But Terrell Shavers getting 20.5 yards per reception is crazy.
Sure.
Even if it's the preseason. And then you say, okay, that ranks 17th in the NFL. That's pretty good. Out of all the players who got almost 20 targets, Terrell Shavers was 17th in terms of his yards per reception. And then you look at receiving against scheme and you say, okay, well, what were his yards per reception? And let's go against man defense. And there's Terrell Shavers in the top 20. Mm-hmm. And if I go to zone defense and say yards per reception, guess who's in the top 20 again?
What's the qualifier for this? 20% of snaps?
20% of snaps.
So, like, no one good is on this list.
No one good is on this list. It's not starting receivers.
Okay, so this is king of the crap heap.
But out of all the practice squad level players, Terrell Shavers, or at least preseason level players, Terrell Shavers is there in the top of all of these metrics. And so you start to think about it and go, okay, well, then if he qualifies for that, if I cut him, some team will take that.
Think so? How many wide receivers were claimed on waivers today?
How many teams have bad wide receiver rooms, though, who go, hey, that's a big physical guy who can run block and be a punk gunner.
Yeah, but how many wide receivers were claimed?
So when you're talking about path to the 53, I know you're trying to be, this is what I love is Ryan goes out of his way to try to be my foil. When you think about what you want out of your wide receiver,
I'm going to check it. How many wide receivers?
You want utility. You want utility.
You do. You want guys that can do, when you're talking about your wide receiver 4 or 5, it's what else can they do?
Yep.
Right? Because if you're down to your 5th wide receiver, you're in trouble. So,
when I go Terrell Shavers, well, I'm going to need a guy who can run block. If anything happens to Keon Coleman this season, if he gets hurt again, I'm going to need a big wide receiver who can go out there and run block. He proved he can do that. He proved that he's fixed some of his previously derided ball security issues, catching the ball, running with the ball in the open field. We didn't have any of those issues this year. He had a drop.
It's kind of key of a wide receiver that you catch the ball, right?
Well, yeah. Think about how many can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, as much the stat that stands out to me that you read through was he played a lot, right? And I think what that speaks to was this coaching staff really wanted to see that he could do everything that they were looking for him to do. I think the coaching staff wanted Shavers to make this roster because of the tools, because of what else he can do, because he's been a guy that's been clearly working hard. So I think what they were looking for was, we're going to play him a ton because can you do it in a game situation, right? Doesn't matter who you're lining up against. Can you win your matchups? Can you run block? Can you catch the ball when it's thrown your way? He had a couple drops in the preseason that I thought probably set him a little bit further back in the roster battle than maybe he could have been if he would have caught those. He played special teams, right? So it's like check. Like, we'll give him the roster spot because he checks all the boxes. Whereas we talked about him, maybe a Laviska Shenault gives us a little bit more in one area, but he can't give us, it's like jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like, Shavers is a jack of all trades, and Shenault is like, I can return kicks, not punts, but kicks. And that's kind of it. So that's why Shavers, I think, got the nod over a Shenault.
And I would like everybody in attendance to raise a glass as we toast the demise of Laviska Shenault in a Buffalo Bills uniform. Guys, this tastes good. I'm sorry. We talk about how, like, hey, the human aspect of NFL cuts and whatever. Kick rocks. Get out of here. I'm sick and tired of that guy tricking everybody into believing that he's a good football player or rosterable. He has stolen so many NFL dollars. Like, it's him and Bernie Madoff have some of the biggest heists in history. Mm-hmm. Like, scams, just outright just frauds. Laviska Shenault is one of them. And what's sad is he probably put together one of the best off seasons of his career this year. And I think the team saw through that and said, look, he's returning okay, but then he's up and down. He's catching the ball okay as a practice squad level player, but he's up and down. Do I care? The fact that he's not already signed to the practice squad speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the fact that he's not claimed after being cut speaks to what his reputation
There were 2
is.
wide receivers claimed on waivers, by the way.
Didn't the Jets claim both of them?
No. Trey Palmer got claimed.
Why is that name familiar?
Dalavan Campbell was claimed by Carolina. And Trey Palmer of Tampa Bay played for Tampa in the preseason game.
Okay.
Had a decent game against the Bills. He was claimed by New Orleans. And that was it. So 2 wide receivers were claimed. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Shavers doesn't make it through waivers. But I think, at the end of the day, again, I think it just came down to, for a team that's focusing on getting young at need positions, right? Like, he's toolsy. He does everything. He checks all the boxes. He's younger than Chenault. Edge goes to Shavers in that situation, right? Ty goes to the runner kind of thing. Shavers came in with that 5th spot, came into camp with that 5th spot. It was his to lose, and they saw what they needed to see out of him, and nobody displaced him.
And what I feel like is funny is when you think about the 5th wide receiver spot, you have guys like Curtis Samuel and you have Elijah Moore who round out the wide receiver room. Sean McDermott already made it clear who the top 3 were.
Yep.
So we already knew that there was going to be no volatility at the top of the Bills wide receiver chart. The Curtis Samuel thing, the fact that he wasn't traded, doesn't it just make... And I want you guys to understand this. Those of you watching live, those of you in the comments, I want to hear it. Do you not feel dumb after you've spent weeks railing on social media about, or watching podcasts or listening to pundits talk about, if the Bills can just find a way to trade Curtis Samuel, they could free up this cap space and they can go make that move. It's all nonsense. Nobody wants Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, especially not if he can't step on the field and show that he's got something in the tank, right? Like, he's such an unknown right now. He's Schrodinger's wide receiver.
This team is in the position it's in where they have to decide between a Laviska Shenault and a Terrell Shavers because of Curtis Samuel. That's a decision that Brandon Beane made. Nobody forced him to do it. He picked that player. And now they're stuck here in this world where they have a gadget receiver who can't stay healthy. They've got a backup to a really good special teams player, someday maybe a backup to what Keon Coleman is right now, and Elijah Moore. Like, that's your wide receiver depth chart. Jordan Palmer is not either one of those players. Josh Palmer, Jordan Palmer, doesn't matter.
I mean, sure it does. One's a wide receiver and the other one's a washed up quarterback.
So you look at that and I say to myself, I just feel like you're putting a lot of eggs in the Keon Coleman basket this year. When I look at this wide receiver depth chart, you're banking on him being the spark.
Well, he was drafted he was drafted to be that, right?
I get it. But so then I guess you have to trust a coaching staff when everyone's talking about the crazy moves the Bills can make to go get wide receiver X or wide receiver Y or Z.
Maybe they should have brought back Robert Woods as a mentor on the practice squad, right? They did it with Poyer.
We ran out.
That's called a callback in our business.
We ran out of vet room.
Yeah, right. Right.
We got too many vets.
Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer. They filled the vet leadership quota up. No room for Bobby Trees to mentor Coleman.
It's this idea.
Maybe it was Kelvin Benjamin busy. Maybe Dalton Kincaid needs someone who can push him.
My favorite. Do you guys remember your favorite Kelvin Benjamin meme? I remember seeing him in a super tight Panthers jersey, and it was Booger McFarland being like, that boy's one biscuit away from being a tight end.
Yeah.
He's one Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end. And it was just somebody got a photo of him walking out of the tunnel in the tightest jersey I've ever seen. I go, oh, that boy's not a wide receiver.
Yeah, no.
Local Evening News said Chenault is cosplaying KB13. Kelvin Benjamin is Laviska Chenault.
So it's just the idea that when it comes to the wide receiver room, I feel like you're putting now all of your chips into the Keon Coleman is going to be the thing that elevates this room. And if that doesn't land and he's just another version of what he was last year, you're probably now shifting your attention to the tight end room and going, Jesus Christ, Kincaid, now or never.
Yeah, I mean, for Coleman, right? Like if he plays 17 games, and he did what he did last year over the course of 17 games, that's better than what you had at wide receiver last year. So I think they're really, to your point, they're really investing in what we had last year was enough. Let's go get someone that's better than Mac Hollins to be our wide receiver 3. Let's go, hope that Elijah Moore can find his juice, right? Like, let's go get guys that have had success in the NFL, but they've been in really bad situations. Like Palmer was just in a bad situation. They just had nobody at wide receiver in LA, and Herbert didn't know who to throw the football to. And Elijah Moore had Zach Wilson as his quarterback. And I mean, he's just been bad, right? Like Aaron Rodgers did nothing for him. And let's hope that Curtis Samuel can stay healthy. And if those things happen, we will be better than we were last year at the wide receiver position, which was good enough for the third best scoring offense in the NFL, and invested in the defense instead. I don't think that's a bad bet to make, right? No. Because you're assuming that Coleman in his second year will take a step forward, which is should be a safe assumption to make out of your wide receivers. You're assuming that Dalton Kincaid takes a step forward, which again is a third-year tight end. That should be a safe assumption to make. Tight ends typically will peak in year 3-4, so that's a fair assessment to make. And I think they did enough in the wide receiver room. I'm higher on Josh Palmer than I think a lot of people are, but for those who played fantasy football, I think know what Palmer's capable of because you follow guys like that, right? Like he's one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he doesn't get a ton of targets, but when he does, he maximizes his ability with it. I think they did enough at the wide receiver room. I think Chenault was one of those. Chenault was the guy they brought in where it's like, yeah, if Shavers doesn't check the boxes, like he'll be cool to keep. Maybe then we don't need to keep a Codrington and we can get a little more versatility in the secondary. But just, he just didn't bring it on the offensive side of the football that they needed.
Here's a question for anybody out there who doubts the Bills wide receiver depth chart. I want to ask you a question. Who do you trust more? The Buffalo Bills wide receiver depth chart or the Kansas City Chiefs? Counting the fact that you're going to be missing Rashee Rice for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Only 6 weeks.
But taking that into account, you have a Xavier Worthy, second-year player Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, who is constantly injured.
Yep.
You have Juju Smith-Schuster, who I don't even know if he has enough in the tank to be an NFL starter yet. Left. I think that's it. I don't know. I think he's finished. Tyquan Thornton, who couldn't keep his job with the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Okay? A rookie in Jalen Royals, and then 2 guys who I've never even heard their names before.
Yeah.
That's your Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core. We have more talent at our positions than they do.
Sure.
And so when you look around...
Did you make that same argument last year, though?
But so the idea is it's like, oh, well, we can't do this and we can't do this. It's like, yeah, but okay, they're not the problem. This is going to be fine. I shift my attention...
That Kansas City wide receiver core will still figure out a way to drop 30 on a McDermott defense, though.
And that's where they spent all of...
They're still going to drop 30 on you.
So there's a reason they spent all their capital there. And so that's where it was funny because there was no offensive line change during cutdown day. Yep. It happened exactly the way I thought it would, except for the fact that I thought Ryan Vandermark would get cut because I'll tell you what, he was a dog in the preseason. I mean, I'm looking at this right now, blocking reports, okay? I just want the stats. I don't care about grades. Grades can kiss my ass. If you look at quarterback pressures, Ryan Vandermark, responsible for back-to-back false starts and almost 5 in that Bears game total. He gave up a sack. He gave up 2 quarterback hurries, 3 pressures. Like, he was terrible in the preseason. And they kept him. Now, part of them being...
God, Johnny Utah... Back in the comments, the complaints about the vet additions on the practice side are really about McDermott Bean's defensive failures in the playoffs. It's like when your wife argues with you about the dishes, but really something else is going on.
Johnny Utah, bringing the heat. I think that is spot on. Everyone's angry about this idea to put veterans on the practice squad because they're like, well, what else? What's going to make us better? Oh, that's not going to do it. It's like, well, because what you want is for something that's been in the basement to suddenly become better than that. And you're mad that you don't think that decision can move the needle that way. I'm telling you they wouldn't have made it if they didn't think it could, but you want to yell at me about false equivalency. Being angry that Sean McDermott's defenses haven't been good enough to win a Super Bowl.
$100.
I notice you're not offering me any, hence why I brought my own water.
That's so funny. He goes to port in the laptop.
Get it, Glenn.
Get a Glencairn. So the idea is that you guys are all upset because they didn't do the things you wanted. They added players that you don't think have value. But then you're the same ones who are mad that his defense didn't live up to your standard. Well,
yeah, because Jordan Poyer is going to be the reason that they don't get 30 dropped on their head in the playoffs.
But he's not supposed to be. His role.
Then why add him?
See, Johnny.
See what we're doing?
See, Johnny, this is what I'm
you're
dealing
also
with. Wife fights.
You're the guy who goes to couples therapy and goes, I don't know why she was so upset about the dishes, just dishes.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't go to couples therapy. And I don't know that I would.
Yeah.
I don't think therapy, the hot take here.
Drew sounds like the guy that dishes is his chore, but still complains about it.
No,
I think everyone is going to be really surprised in the chat as to what Drew's opinion on therapy is going to be here. I think everyone's going to be shocked that Drew's not a fan of therapy.
My problem is that therapists can only tell you what they like. We see your behavioral patterns as this, and here's why this thing happens to you when you do X, Y, and Z. And you say, but what happens if you show up to every therapy session and go, no, I understand that. I understand that everything negative these things that I don't like are happening to me because of things that I pick and choose, but I'm not going to stop doing them because this is who I am and this is how I am and I'm not willing to change it. Well, now you're just in an impasse. Once you get to a certain point as a human being, you go, this is just who I am and it's either going to work or it's not. In all facets of things. And I feel like that's who Sean McDermott is right now.
Yeah.
He is sitting there in therapy with all of you trying to be his therapist going, you need to be this and that. And he's going, guys, you can tell me everything you want. I hear you. I just don't care. I'm going to do these things.
And I'm not going to win a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Okay.
And if it happens, you will.
I'm going to be Marvin Lewis.
And if it doesn't,
I'm not going to
happen,
change. I'm going to be Jeff Fisher.
And if he wins that Super Bowl, you're going to have to eat.
How many times have I said on this show, on every show, I want to be wrong about Sean McDermott. I really want to be wrong about him.
But you know what a lazy argument that is to be like,
What's that?
Well, I'll take the low road, and if it happens, I'll like it. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah,
I do.
That's fine. That's fine.
This is why
That's
you
fine.
and me get along.
That's fine.
Because we both understand intellectual dishonesty when we see it. We're like, you're arguing from a skewed perspective, and I see it. I respect it, but I'm going to call it out.
How was that?
Delicious.
Now,
Much better than water.
What I did not expect was that Chase Lunt would also make it if Ryan Vandermark did. I thought they were fighting for the same roster spot.
Yeah.
But they might still be.
I think they are.
And so we got to talk about that because the trenches stayed the same. I'm going to move on, but we will circle back to Chase Lunt and Ryan Vandermark and these guys. If you flip over to the defensive side of the ball, because the offensive line stayed the same. The defensive line, I'm surprised they found a way to get everybody on the roster the way they did. I assumed that we were going to lose one of these
creative
guys.
accounting. Yeah.
I was like, okay, Javon Solomon's got to get cut because he didn't get enough run, and as a core special teamer, there's no way they can justify having that many edge players. Sure enough.
This also points to Paul Wineski was wrong.
Which is always fun to point out.
Remember, because we brought that up in
Sports Paul Wineski.
Do they have a show?
No, they do their own show in our group chat. But I asked Paul.
Cold as ice.
I asked Paul point blank, like, are they going to have to cut someone to keep these guys that are suspended, right? And the answer was yes. And then the actual answer was no.
Yeah,
So they didn't need to keep any of those guys.
So now what you have is a defensive line that's going to enter the early phase of this season with a ton of talent at its disposal. And I love the idea that Javon Solomon is still here. I find it interesting that they found room for a Dwayne Carter. He's a second-year player.
Yeah.
You don't want to cut bait right away unless you
I'm surprised they didn't trade him.
Well, and so this becomes...
Because there were a lot of D tackles that were claimed on waivers, so you would have thought someone would have tossed you something for him, you know?
And so this is the beauty of this, because when you talk about trade picks, I thought A.J. Epinesa was a no-brainer. I go, this is the offseason where we're going to trade A.J. Epinesa. And he played so well when he was given like limited snaps, but also just his role here as you watched the other edge players, you start to realize, okay, Landon Jackson's not ready by any measure to push A.J. Epinesa off this roster. You're better having A.J. Epinesa if it means a healthy Joey Bosa.
Yeah. A.J. Epinesa is the guy at work. Like there's three different types of people at work, right? There's the person that is the rock star. There's the person that can be the rock star, and then there's like the steady Eddie.
Yep.
Right? And AJ's the steady Eddie. He's the guy that's going to go out. He's going to get you 7, 8 sacks. If he pushes 10, it's a good season for him. He's going to play well against the run. He's going to get his hands up on defense and knock balls down, tip it up, maybe a couple
pick six in
interceptions.
training camp.
Yeah,
It's
like
this guy has ball skills.
like he's the guy that's just going to go out, you know, he's the typical Buffalo guy, right?
Yep.
Lunch pail, hard hat, you know, he's going to go out and do what he needs to do to be effective and stabilize your defense, to your point. He's the guy you can put out there on rundown so that you don't need to wear Joey Bosa out, and Joey Bosa can just come rush the passer.
Yep. And so when Landon Jackson was supposed to backfill that and kind of give some run to what we thought we were going to be seeing, and I thought that would be enough, but it's not. And so now you have 10, and that's cool, and this is great. And then you look around the rest of the defense and you say to yourself, hey, look at the defensive secondary. We had to put Max Hairston on IR. And we had to put Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt on the suspension list so they don't count towards the 53. And all you've done is you've created what is a second preseason now, except these games matter. It's that same dynamic of having a window where you have to prove yourself. There's a handful of players that have now fallen into a second window of having to prove themselves that they're worthy of an NFL paycheck every week.
Yep.
Because there's going to be 3 roster spots at minimum that disappear.
Yep.
When you look around, Tylen Grable, maybe if Ryan Vandermark really plays his ass off, maybe there's a world where the Bills go, you know what, Tylen, you were good in the preseason. We liked you last year, but Vandermark really ironed out his kinks. I haven't seen that.
No.
I think Vandermark is only here because Tylen Grable went on, what list? Was it IR?
Yeah. Well, no, it was IR.
IR. So when Tylen Grable is ready to come back, if Ryan Vandermark has not really impressed this coaching staff, he's probably gone. And he's probably the guy who gets released to make room for Tylen Grable, who was the active player over Vandermark all of last season, to join the roster. Then you get into the other 3 where it's like, okay, Max Hairston, your first round draft pick, there's not even a question. He will be back on the roster.
Yep.
Who takes the bullet for that? Michael Hoyt. Somebody in the defensive end room is going to have to eat a bullet here when Michael Hoyt's ready to come back. When Larry Ogunjobi comes back, who's the guy fighting for his job to say, hey, Bills, you didn't invest a ton in Larry Ogunjobi. Can you just cut him? Yeah. Cut Ogunjobi, maybe send him to the practice squad. You know how much you love that,
Yeah,
Ryan.
then get rid of Jordan Phillips.
I would love that. Do that. But
maybe that's the plan.
The idea is...
Maybe it's Jordan Phillips is gone after that. Maybe it's Dorian Strong, goes to the practice squad, and there goes Poyer. All set. Ryan's happy.
You've created the world where between those 4 guys who are out, now you have this pressure on the rest of the roster. Not only that, but you also signed special teams ace safety Sam Franklin.
Yep.
Has experience with Tabor, strong special teams acumen. Until 2024, finished every season with double-digit solo tackles, despite 4 or fewer starts at safety. That guy screams special teams ace.
He screams? McDermott.
Well, yeah, because this is the guy who paid Tyler Matakevich.
Yeah.
The difference is you're not paying Sam Franklin Tyler Matakevich
Reggie
money,
Gilliam is still on this roster.
which still drives me crazy.
So why wouldn't we carry 2 special teams aces?
But what I'll say is at 6'3", 210, a lot of guys aren't running a 4.45.
No. Yeah. Toolsy.
So he is a toolsy
And McDermott
player
loves his long, fast corners.
who had a pick 6 against the Vikings a year ago and who has proven that he has a little bit of utility. And so in this way, they've put this guy on the roster. Again, who loses their job? Who are these guys who they're shuffling in and out in order to make room for all these toolsy players or proposed starters that they brought in free agency? I look at this and I say to myself, you've got a couple players who are now going to open this season fighting for their lives. Javon Solomon, Dwayne Carter, Brandon Codrington, and Dorian Strong. I think Dorian Strong versus Jamarcus Ingram is going to be one of the more compelling battles, especially given the fact that we don't know whether Trey White's healthy enough to play week 1 or not. I think Dorian Williams versus Jamarcus Ingram over the first month of the NFL season is going to be a huge storyline. It's something I'm going to be watching every week is who is deployed where? How does this player get utilized? Who gets used as the dime back? Who starts? Look, if Trey White can't go and Dane Jackson is on your practice squad, it's Jamarcus Ingram is your de facto starter at cornerback. If that's your case, Dorian Strong must not be highly thought of. Either they don't love his run defense, they don't like the angles he takes to the ball. He made some embarrassing mistakes in the preseason this year. Dorian Strong, the way the media talked about Dorian Strong is the player that Jordan Hancock turned out to be.
Yep.
When you actually watch the preseason games. And so when I see this, I say to myself, I see a world where Dorian Strong's probably fighting for his life. And if he does poorly, who's taking him off waivers? Maybe he's a guy you cut and you bring back to the practice squad and you say, hey, we tried. And if he doesn't and somebody else claims him off waivers, they have to put him on their active 53. But if he's bad enough that we cut him, does anyone really want him?
Yeah.
It's a decent gamble, right?
Sure.
Hey, we invested a draft pick, but we might be able to get you back if we cut you somewhere in that first month when we need a new DB, when Max Hairston's ready.
Yeah.
Brandon Codrington is interesting because you're not a nickelback. You're not if something happens to Teron Johnson, Chris, as the lay fan here who doesn't really understand X's and O's or the roster analysis, who is the starter if Teron Johnson goes down?
If it has to be Brandon Codrington, I'd rather it be me.
It'll probably be Cam Lewis.
Yeah, it'll be Cam Lewis.
And so in that way, Codrington,
they've been trying to turn into a safety for how long, right?
And
last 2 seasons.
And Brandon Codrington is now a one-trick pony. You can't trust him to play defensive back. So he's just a kick returner.
Yeah.
So if you can get another athlete or somebody else shakes loose somewhere in the NFL, people forget like kick returners. That's one of those jobs that's like punting and kicking. It's kind of plug and play. And
especially with the new kickoff rules, right? Like it doesn't translate from college to the NFL like it used to because the kickoffs are completely different now. You know,
it might be a hot take, but I'll tell you this: the Bills traded a pick to the Jets for Brandon Codrington before cutdown day. They put him on the roster. He had no time in camp with the Bills last year.
Yeah,
and he had a great returner season.
Yep. I mean, and this is a coaching staff who in the past has put their starting free safety out to just field punts.
Yep.
Not return punts, just field punts. Just go catch it. Just go catch it.
Hide, don't you dare
just go catch it.
Just go fair catch everything.
Yep, because you've got a unicorn at quarterback, and you can do that, right? Field position be damned.
Or you put out one of your wide receivers that's important.
Yeah, just fair catch it, man. Just
Brandon,
wave the hand over your head and catch
Brandon Codrington is in trouble. He has a month to prove that he deserves a permanent roster spot. And if he doesn't pull it off in the first month of football, I could absolutely see a world where they go, all things be damned. We could put Khalil Shakir out there to field punts and just have him do the Micah Hyde, just fair catch. And hey, let's go play 3 downs.
Who's safer, do you think? Jordan Hancock Dorian Strong or Codrington?
I would think Strong.
You think Strong is safer than Codrington?
I think Strong, if only because you drafted him and you think he has defensive utility. Codrington, you can't trust that guy on defense.
Yeah.
He can't play cornerback for you. He's terrible in a preseason game against slightly inferior talent on the NFL scale.
Did he even play in the preseason, Codrington?
Yeah, he played and he played poorly.
Did he? Okay.
He got beat up pretty badly.
Yeah.
And so it's that idea that even though you're on the roster, you've now created as a GM this extra problem where normally you make the 53, you go, okay, cool. My life's good. I'm an NFL football player. For the Buffalo Bills, it's not so fast. Now you're on an NFL roster. Good luck over the next month because whoever drops the ball, you're probably gone.
Yeah.
Because we know that we like a Michael Hoyt. We know that a Larry Ogunjobi is a veteran presence. So you as a defensive tackle better be able to outplay him.
Yeah, I mean, they liked Hoyt so much that they knew he was going to be suspended and they still signed him on a 2-year deal. And
that's where I look at guys like Solomon and Dwayne Carter. And I say, guys, if it's now or
never. Is it Solomon? I mean, Solomon and Jackson have to be right there with each other, right? It's got to be between those two. You drafted Jackson.
Are you going to cut Jackson?
I don't know. Are you going to cut? I mean, Solomon had I think there's cases to be made for both.
This is the organization that took AJ Epinesa and then spent a 7th round pick on the pterodactyl, Daryl Williams. Daryl Williams.
Johnson.
Doesn't matter. He's not in the league. Doesn't matter. And he's not in the NFL anymore. but spent 2 picks on defensive ends and then decided, hey, guess what? We're going to make you do everything except what you did in college. We're going to make you change your body type, your physical makeup, and we're going to make you play a system that you don't naturally fit. And they had a slow roll. And now look at A.J. Epinesa. He's on his 2nd contract extension with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I think Solomon would be. I think it's Solomon and Jackson. I think they're kind of right there with each other because I mean, Jackson. Yeah, he's a guy that you spent a draft pick on, but so is Solomon, right? So
Tank Ninja comments, somebody's going to be on IR before the suspensions are up.
fair, I mean, that's
I want
fair
to point
point.
out,
Joey Bosa.
First of all, I want to point out
Joey Bosa will be on IR.
that is true. First of all, I want to point out I grabbed a bottle off Chris's shelf, not knowing that I was pouring myself lighter fluid. Go ahead and read the proof on that.
121.
121.4.
Does it drink like 121?
What's the proof on this one? This is good.
No, I have the 1 barrel. 1 barrel is 123.6.
One of my favorite comments of the night is going to be Tracy Brewster. I want to be the female version of this, but I'd be the laziest drinking, hardest drinking podcast. Yes.
Oh, you got another super. Oh man, Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah, how much of the cynicism around this Allen era for the Bills not winning a championship is really just an unwillingness to admit how great the Chiefs are? It's not mutually exclusive, and Allen will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's correct. We're stuck in this cycle the way that the Steelers were, the way that the Chargers were when Tom Brady was in place.
The Steelers won one.
The Steelers won one.
Chargers is a good example.
The Steelers
Bengals.
won one. No. The
Chargers are a good
The
example.
Steelers won in a year where Tom Brady was injured.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's like, okay, well, is that
Do I care? Do I care? If Patrick Mahomes goes down with an ACL and the Bills win the Super Bowl, you're gonna be like, yeah, but
Patrick Mahomes?
but
Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. We talk about human suffering and respecting athletes and all these things and being sensitive to athletes. I can tell you that if Patrick Mahomes, so the day that Bernard Pollard gave Tom Brady one of the dirtiest elbows to the knee I've still to this day ever seen in NFL history. Who falls down like this into someone's kneecaps? I was so happy I jumped on top of my parents' coffee table, and at 320 pounds, all 4 legs immediately disintegrated, just turned into sawdust and just snapped right off that son of a bitch. If Patrick Mahomes, if I were to get the text, like I'm there, I'm in the tailgate parking lot, and they go, oh my God, oh no, it's Friday night. So it's going to be Friday night, and it's going to be in Brazil, and I'm going to be sleeping on the couch, and all of a sudden I'm going to get woken up to a barrage of text messages going, did you see they just broke Patrick Mahomes in half? And it's going to be a defensive tackle falling on him while he's laying on top of Travis Kelce, who got pushed into the backfield because he's old as shit. And they just sever him in half, and he gets dragged off with his ankles kind of.
Won't you still be like, yeah, I'll be back next week, though?
No, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to go to the basement. I'm going to pour a little bit of, I'm going to break out the, it's probably going to be the special stuff, like the stuff you say for special occasions.
Like when your kids are born.
Like the E.H. Taylor.
Yeah.
Bottle of E.H. Taylor. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to put on Prince's 1999 on repeat for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm a bad person.
I think Johnny Utah has a good point, but I think, the Bills are kind of like, yeah, you ran into Mahomes. I think the Chargers are a better example, right? Because that Phillip Rivers LT team was unreal.
And yet they couldn't get over the hump.
15-1, right? Like,
and so
they just ran into Peyton and Brady.
Yeah, and so you over and over and over again get angry and scream and thrash about the practice squad,
Johnny
about
Utah.
things that don't matter. Wait, what?
So we're not going to call him Johnny Utah. Also,
guys,
shout out to Big JH. Listening to the Rockpile Report is like tailgating for your ears, loud, unfiltered, and I usually regret not bringing extra wings.
I love it.
Fair point.
Hicks and
Local
Bly,
Evening News.
old timer.
Did you name the podcast after Drew's dental chart?
That was almost a legitimate spit take directly into my laptop. See, this is why I like our crowd.
Yeah.
They get us.
Fair point.
They get us. Guys, I love this, and I love, in fact, I want to take Johnny Utah's point and kind of use it to wrap up this roster synopsis conversation. We all take a look at the decisions the Bills made this week, and you can be critical, you can have an opinion, but it's hard to say that this isn't again, just another talented iteration of what the Bills have been for the last 3 years. The question is, will they be lucky enough in terms of health? And will they get the right bounces? Will the right players grow in the right places? Will the rookies that you're banking on do? There's a lot of ifs associated with what we do. And unfortunately, we share a conference with a team that never seems to have to worry about the if. If you talk to their fans and pundits and analysts of the Kansas City Chiefs, there's a cockiness. But it's earned because their coaching staff figures out how to maximize every single square inch of talent they get on that final 53.
Yeah.
Whether it's, hey, I know that I can put my former second round George Karlaftis pick, I can put him on special teams. And I know that he's capable of blocking a kick if we identify a weak thing in the formation and it saves us a game. Mm-hmm. They squeeze every ounce of possibility out of that roster. And that's why they're champions.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills have wasted talent. They've wasted time. They've wasted development. This year is another opportunity for the Bills to prove that they can do that.
Yeah.
Prove that their coaching staff is capable of maximizing the talent on hand. And it may be telling, to your point, trying to deride Sean McDermott to the fact that he has to add player coaches.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's trying something. And at least he's not standing pat and going, okay, I'm going to bring back Eli Anku for the 4th consecutive year and then not play him when we're playing a run-heavy team, even though he's the only one tech on the roster.
I'll do you one better. He's going to bring back the 33-year-old Jordan Phillips.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I think I agree. The difference this year, unlike other years, right, is the Bills, yes, do they need all of those things to go the right way? Every NFL team needs things to go the right way, right? Like if Travis Kelce goes down, the Chiefs are in trouble, right? And there's 4 or 5 guys on every roster in the NFL where you're like, if he goes down, we're in some shit, right? Like if Patrick Mahomes, obviously, right? Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, right? Like if he goes down, what's that defense look like in Kansas City? That you can go down the list. The difference, I think, this year is the divisional situation, because I think if you were to give anybody that's in the gambling space, if you said, I'll give you Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Philadelphia, or the field, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? I think majority of people are taking those 4 teams, one of those 4 teams, right? The difference between all of those teams is Buffalo plays in a division with a improving but still bad New England Patriots team, a dumpster fire of a team in New Jersey, and a dumpster fire of a football team in Miami.
That doesn't know it's a dumpster fire.
Right.
They're the house that's burning and you try to offer them a hose and they go, nah, we're good.
Right, but they're also the ones that, like, their house is burning down and their neighbors are all telling them that their house is burning down and like, nah, it's fine, right? Like, the fan base is fed up with the Miami Dolphins. So, and then you've got Kansas City, who... Denver's a good team, man. Sean Payton's doing it again.
You know what's crazy is Chris Greer actually came out this week and had a comment about, like, he's like, my family's received death threats. I see the stuff that's said about
him.
I love Chris.
Miami fans are actually doing the stuff that you always threatened to do to Doug Whaley. Like, they're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Like, they're about that life, Drew. You've always just talked that life.
He said somebody wished cancer on my kids.
Yeah.
Drew, I've heard that from your mouth for as long as I've known you.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I would never utter such a thing. This is unprovable, and it's all
hearsay.
And if I hire our lawyer, it's all hearsay. And if I hire my lawyer, I can have a cease and desist applied to you because you can't prove I said it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think again, the Bills have that division. Right. And the AFC West is going to be, I think, the second most interesting division in football behind the NFC North. The AFC West, Denver's like Peyton's doing it again. Right. Like he's got the best defense in the NFL. And the defense just plays square up. Right. Like they're just man to man. Our guys are better than your guys. Good luck. He's got a young quarterback that can spin it. And he's doing it again. I think every time Bo Nix comes out and wins a big game and plays well, like Drew Brees' legacy is minimized a little bit, right? Because it's Sean Payton.
I'm hoping that this is the year that the AFC West finally shows a little backbone.
Yeah, because I mean the Raiders, right? Like that Geno Smith, like he can spin it. Jacoby Myers,
you have Justin Herbert.
No slouch.
Why is Justin Herbert not not winning a playoff game yet in his career.
Yeah. And they finally figured out, it seems like they finally figured out the running back situation, which Jim Harbaugh loves to run the football. You've got 3 really good coaches in that division. And then you go to Baltimore. Tomlin's always going to have the Steelers there, right?
We just
Cincinnati, by all accounts, Buffalo has done it, right? So Cincinnati hasn't yet done it, but you can go out and just bludgeon teams to death. And I think that's what Cincinnati's going to try to do. They got Chase Brown, who's a good running back. They got obviously one of the best passing attacks in the NFL.
Yep. 2020, the Buffalo Bills were like, fuck it. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to air it out and make you outscore us.
Yeah. And the Browns are going to fall ass backwards into a couple of wins this year, right? Like, why not against Baltimore?
The Browns, so earlier tonight, we recorded a portion of a show, our preview show, which you'll hear more about next week. But there was a factoid where I talked about how the Baltimore Ravens, for as much as everyone raves about them, every year for the last 4 seasons has split with both the Bengals and the Browns and the Steelers. The Bengals,
that division cannibalizes itself.
They eat themselves alive. The Buffalo Bills have the advantage of being able to kind of coast on the ease of division. And so you should be in the conversation for a 1 seed. You should be in the conversation for a 1 or 2 seed every single year by default.
Yeah.
And I think the Bills have built another roster that allows them an opportunity to do that. And I think that they've addressed some of the issues. And they've given themselves at least chances at fixing, by the time the playoff rolls around, some of the things that plagued them historically in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I like this 53. I'd be hard pressed to say that it's worse than last year's.
It's not worse than last year's. It's better. This is. I would make the argument that this is the best 53-man roster that McDermott has had.
So let's go have a season and stop screaming at each other about a practice squad. Can we?
No, but we'll try.
He goes, no, but we'll try. Guys, I love this, and I love that you all show up for it. I know most of you already subscribe, but if you don't, click the button so you at least get a
Oh,
notice.
my God, he got another one in on you.
Oh, and Johnny Utah, we got to come back to you here.
Johnny Utah's a high-level executive. He's giving us $60.
It's probably my dad using a burner. He's trying to slowly give me his inheritance that he's been like, no, I won't retire. I'll just work till I die. Now, Johnny, Allen has already tied Elway and Bradshaw in playoff touchdowns and has the lowest interception percentage in NFL history. Has already passed Kelly in playoff passing touchdowns. The Allen Mahomes phenomenon, and more similar to Jerry West and Bill Russ. This is a good comp.
And they showed they showed the statistic in the preseason game that Allen.
Johnny Utah's like, Johnny, do you want to come co-host this podcast sometime? Because Jesus, you are on fire.
Yeah, and Allen is they said.
We'll pay you
quarterbacks who have 40 combined touchdowns in a season. Allen's done it 5 times. No one else has done it more than 3.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you've got a Josh Allen on your roster, you are one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. Hard stop. And that's what we've talked about. And that's one of the reasons I've lamented McDermott for so long, right? Like, you can't waste guys like this because Bills fans we talked about it earlier, forget how hard it was to get to this. And they've never had this before. The Bills have never had this guy before.
No.
Because Kelly was a great quarterback, but Kelly wasn't that dude.
No.
Right? Like Allen's that dude. So as long as you've got that dude on the other side, like, you've got to go win football games.
And then, so Johnny, to your point, this is unreal. We're in rarefied air. They have to capitalize on this.
Yeah, you gotta.
And they've built him a roster of young talent while still retaining the core of the team for the foreseeable future.
They didn't have to replace significant contributors from last season.
No,
they really
they're
didn't.
bringing back most of the same people that they had last year. And then what they're doing is they're going to add on the fact that
That's a lot of water, Chris. That Johnny Utah's contributing to the show.
My skin's crawling right now.
Yeah.
And that's why
Skid Valve gave us a $4.99 just to make Drew uncomfortable for when I get a picture with him.
Johnny Utah, Allen passed guys like Rivers and Moon years ago. He's quite literally off to the most productive start in NFL history. It's just a unique situation.
So now,
Yeah, Johnny Utah, if you want to come do the podcast, you can come on over. If you don't want to be on camera, fine. I'll find a cardboard cutout of
I think
Keanu
Johnny
Reeves.
Utah has earned himself.
Keanu Reeves.
Just sit in.
Almost put you in.
Johnny Utah has earned himself Johnny
Utah's a legend.
His own call-in line. Like you just give him a phone number to call, and he'll just leave voicemails.
What I love is Skid Valve. He gives us a super chat and then says, just to make Drew uncomfortable when I get a pic with him in real life. One of those photos that you take with me is going to be me sliding a $5 bill like inside your shirt. I love you guys.
I do think it's indicative of your fan base, though, that somebody paid $5 and spelled a word wrong in it.
I love these people. They're us.
These are your people, Drew.
I love these guys. I'll go to the mat for my fans.
You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, because Skid Valve paid us $4.99 just for an uncomfortable photo with Drew. Drew, that means when you take a photo against the Dolphins at the tailgate with Skid Valve, you have to show your teeth.
Yeah.
He's got.
I thought you were going to say he's got to show his tits, but no, he can do teeth too.
No, the teeth are far. You know what the funny thing is? Me teeth out is far more offensive than me naked in public. Like it's unsettling to people, and I've used that to my advantage for so much of my life.
You see Big JH's comment? Brady has rings, Montana has stats, Johnny Utah has 100% conviction rate.
I love you guys, and this has been fun to talk through with you. I like that you get to see how me and Ryan address each other. Like, we're far more acrimonious behind closed doors, but we do this all the time.
Yeah, we're not the I'm going to die on this hill. We're the you're going to die on this hill.
You're going to die on my hill.
Someone's going to die on this hill.
And I like that you guys enjoy being a party to it. It's been fun, but for tonight, we've got to get the hell out of here. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get notified when we go live or when we schedule a live show so that you don't miss any of it.
Tuesday.
According to Chris, Tuesday.
Chris, give them all a rundown of the upcoming schedule.
Tuesday, live at 8. That way throughout the entire season until we have no more games and it's off-season content. Every Tuesday, right here, YouTube, 8 o'clock. Next week, we're going to have Johnny Utah in because Joe Miller claims that he's Johnny Utah. But Joe Miller from Overreaction Buffalo, I don't even know. I'd have to ask him what his show is because I think it's Overreaction Buffalo presented by Salen's Hot Dogs with Joe Miller and John Fina.
That's too long. That's too long of a name.
Too long of a name.
So he's got to go to the marketing agency.
We'll have to
You got to shorten that name, man.
We'll talk to Joe next week when he comes in.
Yeah,
but, every Tuesday.
And for those who are in the chat, like, make sure you're sharing this stuff, guys. Like, as someone who's been doing this stuff for as longer than you guys have been doing it, and I'll go to the mat on that Icy and I were before you guys. I know we fight about that a lot, but you guys don't realize how like hard this is to do for this long. Like, there's a lot of guys out there that are doing this podcast stuff that didn't have to do it when EJ Manuel was your quarterback, and Drew and Chris were doing it when we were, convincing ourselves. Like, Icy and I did a show justifying the EJ Manuel pick. Like, we've been doing this a long time. And for these guys to not even be at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube right now is criminal. So make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing, key on the sharing. Y'all share this stuff. If you're in here hanging out, y'all have been in here. 47 viewers, like, for the entire show. You've been averaging 24 minutes a listen. Like, send a link to some people, man. Like, get these guys to the point where they can at least monetize this stuff and they can stop relying on Johnny Utah to pay their bills.
Hey, we could be, you could be another Bills content creator that, does it for 8 years but has 6 different shows
and rides everyone's coattails. And also sounds like
is oddly wrong about everything.
Oddly wrong about everything, and sounds like they should be spinning smooth jazz hits over at.
I will give credit.
Delilah on WJYE.
I did it last time I was on. I give credit to anyone who's so confidently wrong. Like, just if you're wrong, be confident about it. But yeah,
one day, guys, when we get to the end of this, we're gonna do a podcast where we just tell you all these people who we just trash,
who we allude to,
and then allude to. We'll just tear.
Or better yet, have them on the show.
Oh my God, we could do it in front of him. We could get him in here.
Yeah,
it would be so much. He goes no. Guys, thank you for everything tonight. You guys are the best. I love this, and I love that I get to come in here and I love that as a hobbyist, I get to come in here and do this. And then you guys show up and make it a show. I love this. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who are listening at home. But we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Ryan Lasal from #Sports and Rock Sports Nation.
Rock Sports Network.
And this has been your Rockpile Report. Slaunch.